Chapter 12. This starts with an email from Commander Dexter. May 8, 2091. From Commander Dexter to U.S. Territorial Command. Message, SITREP. We are missing the following requested items from the supply ship. Rosemary spice, fever and pain reliever, a socket wrench, replacement parts for the rover as listed on attached document, moisturizing skin cream, blue eyeshadow, mascara, and black liner for the teenagers. Cy Dexter, Commander, Expeditionary and Settlement Team, U.S. Territory, Mars. Chapter 12. Family Name. I stared at the glowing digislate as I sat at the desk in this core. Memes always made us kids write thank you transmissions for the supplies on from Earth. She said it was good manners, but I hated it. It was awkward writing to people you never met, but there was no getting out of it. Dear Earth Command, thanks for the supplies. Salty Bill made chocolate cake. It was delicious. Do you think you could send some kittens? Please thank the children at Lincoln Elementary for the quilt. It's warm. The signature part of the letter was always a bit confusing. I knew that on Earth people had two names, a first and a last one. Memes explained that the last name indicated your family. But here on Mars, we children only had first names. Part of me thought having a family name might be nice. But in the end, I signed it the same as always, your friend, Belle. After I was done, I clicked send. The supper bell rang softly in the distance. Time to go. I made my way down the stairs, and as I neared the bottom, I heard Phineas and Cy arguing, loudly. You know my feelings on this, Cy, Phineas said. How could I not? Cy replied sarcastically. You won't stop telling me I'm wrong. It's short-sighted and foolish, Phineas shouted. Now this was shocking, because I'd never even heard Phineas raise his voice, let alone shout. Nonsense. You're letting your emotions get in the way, Phineas said. It has nothing to do with emotions. It's what's best for the children. They are all our children, Cyrum, Phineas insisted. I love them too, and I want them to lead happy, fulfilling lives. And they can't do that confined here. This wasn't meant to be a prison. We're not going to discuss this again, Cy said, cutting him off. Then there was the sound of feet walking fast down the corridor. A moment later, I heard Phineas and his cane slowly following the same way. I waited a few minutes, then went to the mess hall. Everyone was already eating. I watched as Phineas and Cy calmly discussed which vegetables to put on rotation. You wouldn't have known that they'd just been at each other's throats. Ileana was giving us lessons today. She was my favorite teacher because she was fun. She taught us how to drive the rover and how to make rockets. Lately, she'd been teaching us how to speak French. Cy didn't approve of this, but she said that knowing different languages was important. All right, Ileana said, let's run through our basic phrases. Repeat after me. Bonjour, hello. Je voudrais de l'eau, I would like some water. Où sont les toilettes? Where are the toilets? Vera made an annoyed noise. Ugh, I don't know why we have to learn French. French people aren't very nice, you know. I think you're getting the wrong idea about them, Ileana said. Well, I remember them chasing us with those weapons, Vera muttered under her breath. Before anyone could respond, the emergency alarm started blaring. Again, I said. We followed the sound to the mess hall. Cy was right behind us, which meant that this was a real emergency. Who pushed the alarm? He demanded as everyone rushed in. He swiftly disabled it. I did, Salty Bill shouted, waving a spatula. Is there a fire? He shook his head wildly. He looked terrified. Well, then what? Cy demanded. It's in there, he said, pointing his shaking spatula toward the storage closet. It? I turned to the rest of the kids and silently mouthed, Alien? Trey's eyes widened. Albie shook his head, and Flossie's mouth opened into an O. Even Vera seemed a little scared. But Cy just grabbed a plastic broom that was leaning against the wall. What good was a plastic broom? And walked into the large closet. A moment later, we heard him yelp. Cy! Darby hollered and ran in after him. He grabbed Salty Bill's prized rolling pin. It was made out of real earthwood and was solid. We waited breathlessly. "Are you kidding me?" Darby shouted. That was it. As if on cue, we crowded into the storage closet like an invading army. I struggled to get a good look, but nothing seemed out of place. "Over there," Cy said, pointing to a counter where a plate of muffins was cooling on a rack. A small, furry creature with long tail and whiskers was nibbling on a muffin. "I thought aliens would be bigger," Vera said, clearly unimpressed. "That's not an alien," Cy said. It's a mouse," I exclaimed. "That's a real live Earth mouse." "Oh, it's so cute," Flossie cried. But how did it get here?" Albie asked. "It must have hitched a ride," Eliana said and chuckled. "More like an entire family hitched a ride," Darby said, nudging an open bag of flour with his foot, and a bunch more mice ran out. "Oh, can we keep them?" Flossie asked. "They're little monsters!" Salty Bill shouted. "Look at what they did to my muffins, and I just baked them!" "I don't think that's a good idea," Ileana began. "Mice eat through wiring." "Oh, just one mouse," Flossie wheedled, her brown eyes wide. "Please." Meme's face softened. No one could resist Flossie. "One mouse," Memes agreed, "and you have to put it in a box with a lid and air holes to keep Leo away from it." "Which one?" I asked. The mice raced madly around the floor. Cy snorted. "Whichever one you can catch." Eliana helped us design a plastic habitat for our new pet. It had pod-like buildings and tubes for the mouse to run around in. We lined it with torn-up algae paper, Phineas's suggestion, and a little bowl of water. It looked like a mini Mars settlement fit for a mouse. Now that turned out to be the easy part. The hard part was coming up with a name that we could all agree on. We'd been debating names for the last hour. Nobody was happy with any of them, though. Trey was pushing hard for John Glenn. "Oh, I've got it, Flossie said, clapping her hands. "Oh, let's name him Muffin." "Muffin?" Trey asked. "Yeah, we found him eating the muffins," Flossie insisted. We stared at the mouse. With its soft-looking fur and its twitching whiskers, the name did fit perfectly. Except something was missing. "We need to give it a last name, too," I said. "A last name?" Flossie asked. "Well, he needs a last name so that he knows he's part of our family." "Well, that sounds like a dumb," Trey started to say, but Flossie elbowed him. "What are you thinking, Belle?" Albie asked me. I stared at the mouse's twitching nose. "What if we called him Muffin of Mars?" "Simple," Flossie said. "I love it." Everyone nodded. "Welcome to the American settlement, Muffin of Mars," I whispered.